the red Zerg player from Team Rye Gaming. It is Bly. Okay, well, no super early 12 pools or anything coming out just yet. So we might actually end up, and no, actually, oh God, I was about to, you know what? I thought that was an Overlord. It was a drone. I was about like, and you know, no drones moving out yet, Ben. Nope, there it is. There it is. Proxy hatch.
Now, yeah, so Bly is the kind of guy that I talked about it, right? Like, he seemingly beats anybody that's worse than him, which is, like, that's impressive to do, to hold that kind of consistency, especially when you're so kind of gambly. But he's kind of got this down to an art form. Like, I've seen Bly, when he's at tournaments, enter online tournaments that he's playing while there, just to try and win like the $50 here, the $50 there, the $100 here, you know? He'll be speed running through his games, and he's kind of talking to me and kind of laughing about like 4 Ravager rushing people and like, ha ha ha, 4-minute win here and there. But yeah, he actually makes it look very, very strong. And given that he's the only one that really does this constantly, it's very hard to practice for him because he's the only one that does it.
Yeah. It's not really like, I mean, the styles that he does, yes, there's something that maybe someone else can try and do as a one-off, but the level of execution, the strategic decision-making that he implores, because he's done it so many times, is going to be so different than most other people's. Now, Bly is adding on that Roach Warren, and then Arctur going for the low grind natural. He finally scouts this out with the Reaper. How does a Terran player react to seeing something like this?
You say finally scouted it out. I think that was actually pretty darn quick. So the SCV went to the natural of Bly, didn't see it, and then I saw the Reaper. As it was leaving the natural, he just went instantly over to the his third base kind of thing. So I'm actually impressed. I think he's going to be able to get up this CC. And he's not being too cocky either. He immediately goes for a bunker on the high ground. And he's like, okay, what can I do with this Reaper? There's nothing at that third, really. Like, there's no drones there whatsoever. But I will be sending my Reaper over to the main. And so far, I like everything that he's doing. He's just held down the Marine key. He has to try and get his CC up, though.
Oh, that's going to be so frustrating. I would not have expected Bly to send the Queen off of creep to go actually cancel that SCV. Another cancel. The last SCV does finish things up. And the Queen may actually end up falling over here. So, I mean, hit for tat, good and bad.
Actually, I would totally trade a couple of SCVs for a Queen. I know he lost the Reaper as well, so the resources lost a bit is, you know, a bit skew with, but he's got a bunker up. He's making a Cyclone. He got the CC up as well. He's going to be bleeding out some of these buildings, but as long as he keeps making like or depots behind his mineral line or whatever, he's going to be fine.
Okay, well, bunker's going to get repaired back up as the Ravager Corrosive Vials do start to soften things up. You do need a few more Ravagers if you want to try and break through the bunker itself, as there's going to be some good damage, but you can see he's able to repair. I like the snipe off on one of the SCVs, and even the low health Roaches can just immediately be turned into Ravagers. They'll regain all of their hit points right back up.
Yeah, Arctur so far, he's definitely not dead. He is supply block now, but he did start up a tank and such, so, you know, it's not the end of the world for him. I don't know if he called down depot back in his base. No, he's actually been totally fine with unsupply blocking himself, like kind of foreseeing what's going to happen. Work account-wise, Bly at home has been making drones. He's actually got a few drones on the proxy base as well, so... yeah, this is turning into a Bly game. This is absolutely what I wanted to see.
Yeah, 100%. And remember, there's just so much lost mining time with all these SCVs sitting over by that bunker, ready to repair things up. The SCV's even trying to repair up the barracks that's building an add-on. If the Cyclone can pick off and get lock-ons onto the Overlords, it's actually massive because it just shuts down the high ground vision for a bit, but... Oh, we're starting to see the command center getting really low. Oh my God, he snipes off the command center. Ben, that was not supposed to happen.
That is not supposed to happen. And this situation wasn't looking good for Arctur, but now it's looking really, really dire. Like, this creep spread, it's in his natural, and there's a lot to clean up. Like, oh, this is really, really bad. And this is what Bly does to you. You know, he just makes you feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and now the Banshee's out, but it's not like the Banshee has Cloak or anything, so the Queen plus the Spore Crawler should be able to cause a lot of problems with that Banshee. Just quickly pick off a bunch of Ravagers. It does have to be a bit wary about the damage it takes. Arctur has to come up with some kind of game plan here. I mean, do you just try and break out of the contain? Do you try and find an opportunity to send the Banshees around the map and get some damage on? Like, what would be a game-winning strategy here for Arctur?
A game-winning strategy, I don't know if there is one from this point, but I think he's going to try and break out. He's making his own CC again. I think one of the things that Nate... It's such a hard situation because trying to rebuild the CC that you've lost just feels like it's just going to render you useless and more behind than you already are. Getting down this ramp's going to be incredibly tough too. There's Spore Crawlers and Queens as well to deal with the air units that you have. Honestly, I think Arctur, this is one of the games that I wouldn't blame him for just kind of getting out of it. It's like ASAP, start with a clean slate because, you know, this hasn't gone well for you.
I definitely agree with you there. And it is just going to be one of those frustrating games where I am a little worried that when you're in this kind of spot, and like you were saying, all these small little things are just going to go poorly. And when that happens, you might start making more mistakes and it kind of starts snowballing. And you're kind of just allowing Bly to feel really good about a game and you're feeling really bad. So when you move into game number 2, it's kind of some of that feeling from that last game is just going to kind of sit with you where you're sort of frustrated. You're starting to get a little bit tilted. I'm getting a tiny bit concerned about that right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge Arctur's mental state too hard. Like, remember, he's not the most experienced player. And maybe this is just time where he's like, you know what, I'm just going to feel things out, get a bit more comfortable because, you know, a strategy like Bly's done, all it takes is one mistake for you to make, for you to absolutely crumble, which is kind of what happened, I feel. And I mean, even though he lost his CC, he's only not even 10 supply behind. This Banshee count's getting pretty high. He did just lose something else, though, to the Ravager Bios up in his base. But this is the kind of stuff that you need to do to get back into it. And the worker count isn't incredibly high for Bly. And if this base is compromised, it's back to a one base situation almost.
Yeah, I was going to say right now, there are some more Spore Callers that are starting on up, but the Banshees, I think if they had more energy, they could have sat outside the range of the Spore and maybe continue whittling away at that hatchery. But Bly is going to be taking his own actual natural expansion now, so he will be starting to get up more bases, more transitionary placements here. With another Siege Tank getting started up, we also have Stim getting started, and that's going to take a long time to finish up, but maybe that'll start giving him some of the firepower he needs to start firing some shots back at Bly.
Yeah, it's just tricky. Like, he's getting Stim. He's got a couple of barracks producing Marines, so he's going to have a decent-ish army. But Bly, he's not really slowing down, but I think one of the nice things about Bly's play here is he hasn't kind of gone full greed mode where it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this far ahead economically. He's been inching out drones, but he's also just been respecting the fact that his opponent doesn't have an extra base. So just been getting out the right number of battle units as well. And I think and even having a Ling over here as well for where the orbital is going to try and land, you definitely have to give Bly credit that he's been handling this game well. This is cute by Arctur, like shipping over some SVs, hoping to get away with this. But, you know, Bly's been in this situation many times before.
One thing I really do like about this, though, for Arctur is that the creep spread is not quite at this base just yet. So the Queens are the main defense against the Banshees, and just the Roaches and Ravagers may actually have a hard time trying to push back that base. So they need the support of the Queens. Queens do take some time to move over. I don't think that Arctur's had any chances to elevator any more units over, though. So that plus, I mean, it's not exactly a great defensive position. So you're going to see Command Center have to lift up, but he keeps all the SCVs alive.
I killed the Queen. Got a few minerals and got out of there. Only losing one SCV, and now he can break out. So this actually was some nice planning by Arctur. And even though I've been saying he's been dead for a while, I think he's handled this about as good as you can. I'm impressed.
Okay, we're going to see Bly try and commit over here. The Lings are starting to swarm on in, but once the Lings are gone, the Ravagers are going to be the next target for these Siege Tanks. Siege Tanks do both get Corrosive Bile down. One of them survives. Two other Siege Tanks manage to siege up in time. And another Siege Tank goes down. The Roaches are starting to break through the Marine count, though. And we see that Bly closes the gap, takes out the final Siege Tank, and is able to push Arctur back up the ramp. That was the big breakout moment for Arctur. Bly can replenish this because he actually is mining on other bases. I feel like Arctur, if he can't break out then, I'm not sure he ever gets to.
No, that was definitely a great attempt by him, though. Like, pulling over the army and trying to mine with the other base, I think that was a really smart move, and utilizing the lack of creep spread, which you totally pointed out. And that was nice. Then he chose to break out. You can see that Arctur is playing this intelligently. I think he's just a little bit too far behind, which is unfortunate. And seeing Bly just kind of like eke out more units, and he actually has like more units on this side of the map too. It's such a difficult position to be in, and he realizes it, and Bly takes the first map of the series in Bly fashion.
Yeah, commendable game there from Arctur, given how bad of a situation that started off with. But like you said, it is going to be good old Bly's game to win. So setting a nice pace for him. And Ben, you were talking about this before, where Bly is one of those players that can be very difficult to play against. It's even more scary, though, when you're down 0-1 at a best of 3, though, right? And this is an important match for Arctur. I think Arctur has been having like this great performance thus far, but this is going to be one of those matches that really helps determine, like, hey, Arctur, you're sitting 3-2, but you're not quite guaranteed to advance out of the group or anything just yet. You've got to be able to beat players like Bly in the next opponent.
You do. I do think Bly is a really tricky opponent, though. Arctur already did defeat Gung Fu Banda, who he's around like 6.5, 6.6k. So just to talk about the level of Arctur, and a lot of Terrans are having a little bit of trouble against Protoss recently. So the fact that he came out ahead in that matchup against him, it does go to show you his level. Bly is not your ordinary Zerg. He isn't. And we talked about this earlier in New Thermal versus Showdown, that he scouted the Dark Shrine, and then he scouted it very early, and it's like, okay, how do I prepare for it knowing that it's coming, kind of thing. The thing that makes Bly and players like him, like Hast, very difficult is the level of prep that you need. It's a fine line, because you can overdo it or underdo it. And what makes Bly so incredibly difficult is something's coming, and even when you scout it, it's like, okay, you can overshoot or undershoot really damn easily, and all it takes is for one little mistake to really kind of own you, which is why Bly finds it very easy to take advantage of players that aren't quite to his level. But the players that are a little bit better, that don't quite make that mistake that he's hoping for, kind of falls a bit flat. And that's why Bly's style is so infuriating, because it absolutely relies on you making a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I could not have said it better myself. It is a really, really fun style to watch, but it is relying on your opponent to not react perfectly. And Bly is great at forcing out those mistakes and creating more and more complicated situations where you have to make the perfect decisions. If you don't, like you said before, one mistake and it can kind of all go down the wash. But here we are, guys. We're going to be starting game number 2 up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. Top of the red Zerg player from Rye Gaming. It is Bly.
And spawning over in the bottom left-hand side, it is Arctur. Bly up to shenanigans once again. This is quite the proxy location right here as well. We did see one game of Serral against Saul on this map, same positions kind of thing, but Serral went for the proxy at the natural third of the Terran. So this is quite a bit further away. I'm interested in how he's going to make this work. By the way, you know what? I like that you say Team Rye. Do you know what the Rye stands for?
It's not a type of bread, is it?
No. When you keep saying Rye Gaming, I'm like, does he think it's the bread? No, it's Team Raise Your Edge. So.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, him and Drogo on that team. It's a pretty solid team, because Drogo's doing very well in his group, and Bly's always capable of making a show out of things.
I also want to actually make a mention of Arctur's team, also Team GP. I don't actually know what the GP stands for, but as someone who plays a lot of MMOs and like D&D and stuff, I just, in my mind, it just goes to gold pieces.
Oh, yeah. There's something else, like something points as well, that it can be. And I remember like in old games, it would be like Gil.
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14, man. That's still where my mindset's at.
Okay, so Arctur, he is opting for SV Scouts in these games against Bly, which I like it because you get to kind of detect something a little bit weird earlier than you normally would with just the Reaper Scout. But then the Reaper gets to kind of figure out what's happening on the map. So this is where we get to see what this Reaper chooses to do. And, oh, he gets to see the creep spread immediately. And it's like, oh, gosh, here we go again. So this game, he's like, okay, you sent Lings the previous game. I'm going to wait for those and deal with those. So we already see Arctur adapting. And I like that kind of change. That is beautiful to see.
Absolutely. Now the 3 roaches are started on up. We have a bunker being made over here on the low ground. So it really does seem like Arctur actually wants to commit to the low ground defense. And I've got to say, Ben, there's one thing that is a bit scary for Bly's hatchery positioning on this map, because he went for that northern hatchery, like you said, instead of the other third base location. This is a choke point right here that Bly just walked through. If Arctur is able to defend the natural successfully, I feel like that might in some ways make it a bit easier.
I'm not sure if it'll get to that. So Arctur's been really diligent about getting the bunker on the high ground as well as on the low ground. So even if this like first stockade like falls, I like the fact that he's got something else to fall back on. He's been very good about his SCV micro dodging these biles, and I like Arctur's reaction to this is like a totally different game, right?
It's a really, really well done and well executed reaction. We are going to see finally the Marines do evacuate. Like you said, the bunker is going to go down, and it's going to be about this high ground area. To unknown, yeah, I was going to say that wall is not actually complete right now, so got to be a bit careful. But Command Center will take a few corrosive biles here and there. The Overlord is going to provide that high ground vision for the continued harassment up on there.
And this is always annoying, losing your depots and stuff. And maybe against Bly, Terrans might start thinking about not even making a wall against him, just because he's so reliant on these Ravager pushes. But that's really
enough to kill
hard.
it. That's enough to kill, I think, the bunker. If he decides to focus fire down, he goes for the Cyclone instead, going to get the units, and that is a really, really nice set of pickoffs over there. He's focus firing down individual Marines, and that bunker just doesn't have enough SCVs repairing. It does go down, but a lot of Ravagers die in the process.
That was definitely not a good trade for Arctur. Like this is what makes these pushes so scary. You underreact or overreact to it, and Bly can change his mind on what he does. In this game, he's been eking out way less drones, realizing he can deal way more damage, and this is such a bad situation for Arctur. That being said, 2 of these Ravagers are super low health. Maybe they can get picked off a little bit. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's trying to keep the barracks alive. He needs to get SCVs over there to repair it. He actually brings it closer to the ramp. Oh, that means that the SCVs trying to repair are just going to get picked off by the Ravagers, and we end up seeing even more workers going down. A majority of the workers right now for Arctur are not mining, and he's already at a worker deficit. Siege Tank getting some good damage done. Remember, those Ravagers very, very low on hit points. 2 of them already end up falling there, but the Siege Tank goes down, and so do all these SCVs. The Muslim, I don't know that this cleanup is going to be enough.
Nor do I. That being said, the game has kind of been reset in a little bit of a way. Like it's 11 SCVs to 21 drones, but we all know how good mules are, and the second orbital didn't die this game.
That is a good point.
He's not out of the woods yet. He is getting a second Cyclone, which will help a lot for dealing with Roach Ravager, especially off creep. The reason he brought the barracks over here to kind of formulate a new wall, even though that's not closed off to Zerglings and stuff, it is closed off to Roaches and Ravagers. So he's just doing this to buy time.
Gets a lock onto the Roach, which when it gets low on hit points is usually going to turn into a Ravager, so not the ideal lock-on target over there. You can see that Arctur really wants to make some more units. He's going to go for the medevac. That is an interesting choice here.
Yeah, I know he's kind of like strapped for time and resources and stuff. Oh no, one Cyclone just get picked off. The SCVs kind of surrounded it a little bit. But not losing that many SCVs and keeping one Cyclone alive, Bly does get to see it is a medevac, and the worker count 17 to 24. I mean, that's a better ratio than what it once was when it was like 11 to 21.
Yeah, if there's one thing I'm definitely learning about Arctur is that he is a player that has a lot of resilience. I think this guy has really, really stuck through some tough spots that honestly a lot of other players may have even considered tapping out in, but he's been able to stick it through and get to a point where you kind of start thinking, you know, Arctur, he's doing a pretty good job. There's maybe some opportunities here. You can see that, the Marine micro from the Roach, or versus the Roaches, keeps that Marine alive with the medevac pickup, and now is finally starting to push things back, picking off one of the overlords over here, shutting down any high ground vision if there was an attempt to move out again. And what does Bly do from here?
Yeah, I'm starting to like the medevac choice a lot more, just given how Arctur's feeling more confident about moving out. I'm a little bit scared about the Ling speed, because that is definitely something that could shut down this play. Leaving that Overlord alive at his natural was maybe a bit of a blunder. I think he thought he was going to get it regardless. But yeah, this is nicer play by Arctur. I think going for the tank obviously helped against the push, but the Cyclones are so good at just being mobile and being annoying against this kind of army.
Yeah, and you remember, if they pick off those queens, the medevac is always going to provide that kind of escape mechanism. It's kind of like a Protoss player with War Prisoners and Immortals. After the queens start dying, well, you're just going to get to infinitely micro versus those Roaches and Ravagers a little bit. But well, we're going to end up seeing Bly starting to build up a larger and larger army, spreading that creep over. He's going to try and break through this natural again.
But there is a Banshee, so these Ravagers are going to constantly get kind of shot at. There are quite a few Cyclones. Oh, that orb is getting low.
The next set of Corrosive Vials, I think it might be able to kill this command center. It's going to take a lot of damage. It gets so low on hit points. SCV's coming down the ramp to try and repair. That's going to be a few SCVs dies, but if it keeps the command center alive, it's going to be worth it. But the next set of Corrosive Vials kills off more SCVs. It's not being repaired, but it is going to survive for a bit.
And yes, it is going to survive for a bit. Bly's making more Roaches, eking out drones here, there, and everywhere, just like a few at a time. But this is the thing, right? Like, Bly's style, you can see that it's forcing mistakes continuously, and that is purely because Arctur, I don't think he's played against this a lot of times. He's having to learn on the fly right now, which it's always a problematic situation to be in when you're on the stage, and this is when you have to start learning.
Ben, I'm getting worried because now at the 9-minute mark, this is the point where some of those mineral patches start mining out. Arctur has done a great job of just repeatedly pushing Bly back, but he has not yet safely established that natural. He's tried a few times, but if he does not keep it this time, I'm really going to start feeling afraid that he's just not going to have the mining available anymore to keep up this pace.
We do have to, put in the okay, I was about to say both tanks on the low ground. That is risky, and I don't recommend. But Arctur's definitely in better shape this game than the last one. And we did see how resilient he was to a lot of this. He's pushing back the creep spread, meaning the queens can't just kind of dive into the natural. But that's a lot of Bly kind of getting ready to attack.
He's going to be moving in. Corrosive Vials go off on the bunker. Does not have that high ground vision anymore. Remember, those overlords all got picked off. So that siege tank on the high ground that you were talking about, Muslim, is just going to be super safe. There's one overlord that's kind of sitting between the natural expansion of Arctur and the proxy base over there for Bly. So I guess that one could move over, but it is also going to be in a dangerous spot. The Cyclones and Marines could still pick them off.
Certainly. I'm actually, each second that goes by, I'm starting to like this more and more for Arctur. I'm a little surprised that he's doing this move out here, because I still feel like all it takes is for one bus to get through, and then you're in a lot of trouble. But this is information that he doesn't have, I suppose. Gets to see, like, okay, do you have a natural? And it's like, oh, I mean, it's going up, but... And he gets some damage being done. Now it's really on Bly as to what he can do, and for the first time in this series, I think Arctur's going to actually be ahead in supply for once, which is awesome to see for the young Russian.
Oh man, the Spore Crawler tried to move down the ramp. That is not gonna work. There's no creep over there anyways. The medevac is focus firing down there by the Queen, but this is going to force a massive reaction out of here from Bly. He doesn't have any units coming out over here from this side of the map. The Larva is not being used on anything. The Ravagers finally come home, but remember, the medevac can pick up the Cyclones. The Banshees can dodge out of the Corrosive Vials. Loses one of the Cyclones, but I mean, this is still just doing so much for Arctur.
Yes, certainly. And not only is this like direct damage being done, like a few drones, queens, the hatchery being stopped, it also means that Arctur back at home isn't getting assaulted at all. And Arctur, he's feeling confident. Again, I love this kind of puppet play, like showing Bly one thing and causing damage in one place and then doing something else on the map. This is textbook how you're meant to play RTS. And Arctur, honestly, I'm very much impressed with how he's handled this, because a lot of things did go wrong for him, but he's making a lot of things go right as well.
Absolutely. resilience there. Now, Bly is going to go for another base, but it's not over at his own natural expansion. He's going to actually just take the farther north base from his proxy, which, you know, given how that whole aggression ended up going down, I actually don't hate this decision. It's the rich Vespian gas geyser, and given how difficult it is to get his units back over to this side of the map to defend, and it leaves them open on the proxy side, I think, yeah, just gradually migrating all your stuff over to the other side of the map so you can be defensive and offensive at the same time. I think that is going to be the future decision here for Bly.
And look at the worker count as well. 48 SEs to, what is this, 30 drones? Like, yeah, Bly's in a terrible spot. There's even double engineering bay pumping out upgrades for Arctur. Just everything that he's doing right now, I'm really liking. And he's playing pretty safely too. Like, this is kind of testing the water and seeing what army Bly has. Those Banshees are still alive in the main base of Bly, and very soon there's going to be a power spike so big that I'm not sure Bly's going to be able to handle it. Wait, he lost his spawning pool as well to the Banshees?
Yeah, he lost the spawning pool and didn't remake it immediately. Now, he did get up a lair at that main base just as the Banshees were starting to pick away at the spawning pool. I wonder what he has in store for that, if he's going to utilize any tech for it. So far, he's just using it for +2 armor. That's not what I expected the lair to be for. There it is, Infestation Pit.
It's hard to spend like money on something that's going to be really useful here, though. Arctur is tanks for the low ground, and these Lings are going to deal quite a bit of damage to these SPs. This is not what you want, Arctur, but the Marines in the north here trading out very well against the Ravagers. +1 weapons has finished, and honestly, Bly is in a world of trouble.
Yeah, losing that base was not something Bly could afford to do, and now the Marines just retreat on back, and they can go back to the safety of all those siege tanks. The Banshees are going to continue being able to harass inside that quote-unquote main base. Bly, not only on a low worker count, but also just on a low base count right now. It is all about that keeping that Ravager count alive. And the Lings coming forward are finally going to be able to save 4 of the Ravagers. But how many Ravagers died before all of those Lings came?
It's a super duper bad spot. If Arctur moves down a couple of these tanks closer to the third base, which it looks like he's kind of going for. In fact, where's he going with this medevac? I'm not entirely sure. Arctur just wants to be aggressive against Bly, like he feels Bly on the run a little bit, but he has to know that he's just really far ahead. Like, I feel it could be way safer hunting him down with medevacs with siege tanks in. It's cute. It's cute by Arctur.
You know, I think it is also a little bit of a stylistic or a personal thing for Bly that he is the player who will stick it out in games possibly longer than almost any other pro player out there. So I do wonder if Arctur's just kind of thinking, oh, well, yeah, Bly is super dead. He's just doing that Bly thing where he's sticking around in the game, and I should really not be losing this game. I do want to quickly note that 2 Infestors did get popped out over here. Some nice fungal growths with some corrosive biles. I can maybe see some this Marine army getting cleaned up, but even if that happens, I feel like it would require that and another solid engagement to make this game sort of even up. And look at that beautiful split over here from Arctur, preemptively splitting against everything.
Yeah, the fungals do kind of whiff a little bit, honestly, and Bly's down to 48 supply. Still fighting, still trying to cling on here. But that, you know, just this Marine squad here is enough to deal with Bly's entire army, and GG is called. Arctur tying up the series against Bly. Super impressive play by the young Russian. And guys, we'll be heading over to a short break, and we'll be back to just see who wins this series.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting ready to move into a game number 3 in this very, very crazy series. Very back and forth, extremely, extremely aggressive play from Bly. The Muslim, do we see another proxy catch? Or we get a game 3?
I kind of think we will. Maybe. So Bly, you talked about Bly staying in games, right? For a long period of time. And I've seen Bly say things after these games where, he'll be 50 supply against 150. And he'll be like, damn, what a throw by me. And it's like, Bly, you were down like 100 supply. And it's like, so very often I actually get the feeling that Bly has no idea where he is in the game or where his opponent is in the game. And thus just kind of sticks it out until he's for sure certain he's dead. But yeah, he's just a really, really odd fella. But anyhow, to get on to the game, spawning in the bottom left-hand side as our blue Terran, it is Arctur.
And over in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Raise Your Edge Gaming. It is Bly.
I can imagine the leader of Raise Your Edge. He's like, man, I'm finally glad that caster stopped saying bread.
Right. Look, the abbreviation is RYE, man. Like, bread is delicious. I don't know why you'd ever complain about it.
I know. It's just very different, like Raise Your Edge's Bly as opposed to bread Bly. But anyhow, this game, Bly is opting for something that is very weird to see from Bly. Something normal. He's going for a hatch in his own natural.
Wow, what a change up in this meta here for Bly. So, I mean, it's something that we kind of talked about much earlier on in the series, that sometimes Bly is actually not afraid to go for kind of macro cheese. So we could be seeing something along those lines.
So whenever you play Bly in these kind of games, because actually one of the scary things about Bly, so I'll just be talking over this, waiting for player screen. Bly can actually handle himself in a macro game, which, when you play against Haas, if you know you get to a macro game, Haas is going to lose, that's a beautiful thing to know in a game. So the scary thing about Bly is that he can actually, even if you survive the weird stage of the game with Bly, doesn't mean you're out of the water, which makes him very, very scary. His Mutalisk play is actually very good. He doesn't necessarily go up to normal drone timings. Like a lot of Zergs, they'll be at 70 drones, and it's like, okay, I can do an attack here, and he might just be able to hold it off, or maybe I can kill him or at least mortally wound him. Bly might be at 55 drones at that point, be absolutely ready for your attack and just totally smash it and then win the game. So he's exceptionally problematic in a lot of stages of the game. So just because he's, not doing something super weird at the start doesn't mean that it won't happen later on.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of just how Bly will play these weird styles and everything. But usually people are trying to play maybe a version of safe standard, but it's usually a standard-ish style. And I think, yeah, whenever I do see Bly trying to go into the quote-unquote macro games or the later stage games, I feel like he does kind of get to exploit that. He is expecting his opponent's going to play standard. And it's not like Bly doesn't know what standard is. He chooses not to do standard.
What I predict this game, if I'm going to go with it, I do expect mutas from Bly. I've had some games on ladder where I play against Bly doing muta, and he's been very, very good with them. And he kind of likes to utilize them in other matchups as well. But yeah, this game, so for Arctur, he sees that he's not up against something super duper weird, and he's doing everything that he should be doing back at home. He went for the Reaper gas combo, or rather Rex, then Reaper, getting out the Marine afterwards, which is the safest opening you can do. He's down or up to 2 gases, which is great as well. Maybe we'll see something like Cloak Banshees from him. Doesn't actually have a Tech Lab available. But yeah, right now Bly's just been playing totally standard.
Yeah, I love how actively Arctur is just saying, I need to scout. I don't need to pick off lings in the center of the map. I don't need to pick away at a drone or something trying to become a third. He's like, I just need to scout. I just need to have as much information as possible, which I can't blame him for. But Zergling speed finishes up, and that does mean the end of the Reaper. Back at home, we have the Fusion Core on the way.
Now, this is cool. Primarily, like, because BCs are awesome, but I actually haven't seen BCs in a little while being like a standard opener. These Lings are a nuisance. Now, they don't get to scout the Fusion Core, but getting an SCV kill and stuff is definitely annoying. But it was nice of Ours to leave his 3rd and 4th Hellion at home and just harass with 2, because that could have been a way worse situation for him.
Yeah, Hell's going to be moving around. I was just going to say, okay, well, now the Overlord comes in. I was about to say the Lings saw that the starport didn't have anything on it, and on top of not seeing the Fusion Core. So I was really thinking, like, oh, is Bly going to get caught super off guard? But he did move in and scout out that tech lab, so he should be expecting some form of starport aggression, whether it be Banshees or battlecruisers.
So Arctur did something smart there. He immediately, as soon as the Overlord was flying in, he was dealing with it with a few Overlords and acted like swiftly with 2 Marines to deny scouting, and then made a Banshee and Cloak. So maybe he was like trying to show Bly like, hey, look, I'm trying to kill this as fast as possible before you see Cloak. Aha, damn, you see Cloak. Like, now I'm in a bad spot. But it's actually a battlecruiser coming out. So Bly, he's going for quite a bit of aggression on the map here.
Yeah, he's going to use these Lings to try and kill off one of the depots. That's a nice pickup. Doesn't get a cancel on that either, but, well, that's a lot of Hellions that are going to be joining this battle cruiser. So, I mean, usually when we end up seeing something like this, a lot of the Hellions will typically end up running into one of the bases, getting a ton of damage done, while the battle cruiser is going to teleport in, and one of the two are going to draw all of the queens to one side. And it's really difficult to deal with it, but Bly is going to be trying to hit before all of this. The problem is the battlecruisers are already here now, and this is easily going to get pushed back at this point. So we're going to end up seeing these roaches getting chased on down really, really quickly. The battlecruiser also going to be able to take out a few of these roaches. Battlecruiser continue to do more and more damage. Remember, tactical jump is also still off cooldown. And I also want to note, behind all this, only 5 queens are actually around. So they do need to really, really be in position to help deal with this. And God, so many roaches are starting to fall over here. Even with the siege tank being set up, it does seem like it's going to be a tough spot for Bly to really get a whole lot done. But well, Spire's getting started up.
You know what's kind of cool about this game too? Like I'm a little bit confused about what Ours' plan was, because he was going for the armory. I don't know if it was going to be like a Hellbat / battlecruiser attack and what have you, but yeah, he's now switching into bio entirely, and Bly, so he went for this roach attack to try and slow down his opponent / deal a lot of damage. Now he's going into Spire. They're both doing a lot of switches here and there that are very, very unusual. But I like to see this, because this shows me that Arctur, even though you're always in an uncomfortable spot against Bly, he's showing me that he's willing to tango and willing to dance with Bly a little bit, because I think Bly might also be expecting that it's going to be mech, given that it was a large amount of Hellions and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably a reasonable assumption usually to make. But yeah, with Stim coming on up, we can see that that is in fact not the case. But Queens are going to be able to push back. This Battlecruiser trying to get another cancel on that. Oh, 4th base gets the cancel. Teleports out safely, can repair back up. Oh, I love the way that Arctur is playing right now. It really does seem like he's been able to mess with everything that Bly has been planning this game.
Yeah, I'm. Wait, is that a second armory going up, or did he cancel? Okay, a second armory going up for Arctur. Okay, you know what this feels like to me? It feels like Arctur totally forgot about the first armory going up,
yeah.
and like to line up his upgrades, you know. So I even though I was giving him credit for kind of bouncing around, I think he also kind of confused himself a little bit. But that can absolutely happen in a situation like this, just where it's been a little bit crazy. And you know, I've seen Protosses throw up a second Twilight Council. So yeah, I think this is like nerves just getting the better of Arctur a little bit. But this is definitely a scary push, and he's gonna have +1 attack ready, which is kind of awesome.
Oh, Hatchery does get killed, not canceled over there. Oh, that's painful. Roach counterattack is going to get a little bit of damage done, but a few Marines and a Hellbat or 2 are going to be able to push back those Roaches. So Bly's counterattack does get thwarted. He's sending a few of those Mutalisks across the map, though. This might be able to get a little bit more damage done, because mech armies typically don't have the best defense against mutas, but it is just going to be the Marines. And I feel like now, at this point, Bly should really, really be wondering, like, how can I get these mutas to be as effective as possible?
He's kind of doing it, though. Like, he's evening out the worker count quite a bit, getting 5 SCVs thus far. Now, his drone count is actually pretty high, and he's just slamming down more and more mutas, and which is kind of unusual to me. He's also went for the roach upgrades behind all this, while getting, like, Baneling speed and stuff. I'm just... Bly makes games difficult, because against mutas, right, you want to be getting out Marines and Widowmines and stuff, but he's going for roaches. But Arctur's still making tanks. He's also kind of like, oh, I'm going to make Marauders as well, because I do see these roaches now. Arctur's making a lot of the correct plays and predictions, and that's one of the things that makes Bly difficult. You have to constantly predict what he's doing, which is very hard to do, because I don't think Bly often knows what he's doing.
Well, yeah, Arctur's doing a really, really nice job of being able to push a lot of the stuff back. So 6 more workers do go down over there, but I mean, the Roach counterattack does get completely thwarted. You end up seeing the mutas getting pushed back for a little bit. Bly has a few more bases that are finishing on up. And Ben, when do you feel like is the okay time for Arctur to actually try and make a move out when there are this many mutas out on the map?
So it's getting to a situation where he's going to have 2-2, which is really cool and really big. He's also going for a 4th CC. So Arctur is by no means all in. Like, there's nothing all in about his play. I think he's actually in a decent spot. The supplies are a little bit deceiving because, oh, this is a nice catch on the mutas. The supplies are a little bit deceiving because roaches are not efficient supply at all. And this tank count is already scary. It's huge. He's getting Thors, getting another factory. So I'm really liking Arctur's steady and methodical pacing of this game. Also, the fact that he's got that BC in the skies, like, that'll make it much harder to attack move with mutas. But Bly's army is kind of scary. Like, 37 Banelings, that is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, I was about to say, I saw the 27 Banelings being morphed in on top of the 10 that were already out, and that is going to be a very, very difficult army to take on, especially with Arctur trying to move out with his force on the top left. Once he starts encountering that many units, he's going to start realizing, oh, with my army spread out, this might be a little bit tough to take on, but he's going to skim up to the top left-hand side, find a queen and a spine crawler kind of off on their own, draws Bly's army off to the top left. You know, I feel like I almost wish if he had just hit a few seconds, like 10 seconds later, the army on the right-hand side would be hitting at the same time, and this actually really could have thrown Bly off, but looks like Bly will be able to get back in position to help defend this other location.
Oh, but Archer's very heavily on creep here, and while his 2-2 is finishing, he's got a lot of tanks here. This is actually a very scary push by Arctur, and I like his positioning. The 4 at the front as well, just kind of being a nice tall statue to stand in the front, and I think he is going to be able to pick off one base, but Bly, he doesn't go down without a fight. He's dealing counter damage on the other side of the map.
Yeah, 14 workers do go down over there, and remember, Bly was able to keep that top left-hand base alive against the little drop harassment. Now Arctur really wants to push further on, but remember, he's moving even further and deeper onto creep. That's going to make it difficult. Once all of those Banelings are finally finished up, 14 Banelings morphing on in, Bly may be getting ready. He's going to try and hit from 2 different sides. No, he just ends up going straight up through that ramp. Siege tanks wailing away at some of these Banelings, and Arctur is trying to split back. It does seem like Arctur is going to get cleaned up for the most part. Some of the medevacs do load some of those Marines into the main base, but remember, Bly has been doing some counter damage behind all this. He is up a lot of supply. Now the mutas go ham on the medevacs.
And this is what I mean. This is what makes Bly so difficult. Like, he was very content with being at 71 drones this game and then piling out units. Other Zergs, they'll be like, okay, if I'm on Broach, Ling Bane, Muta, I kind of have to go up to a really high drone count. But Bly is not that kind of guy. So, losing all these mutas, by the way. It's been very nice fire by Arctur.
Oh, the friendly fire from the Widow Mine. Oh, more Marines, I think, died from that than Lings, but a few more of these units are going to be going down. The mutas are just in high enough numbers to still push away those medevacs even further. And remember, Arctur has to be able to defend this 3rd base. He's already taken so many losses. Bly is reestablishing a 5th base, and that 4th base is still mining. Widow Mines burrow, and hey, they get a lot of the Banelings here, but the problem is, Ben, there are a bunch of Roaches and Ravagers in the mix again.
Yeah, this is extremely problematic. Like, Arctur is doing a lot of the stuff right, like getting 3-3 on the way and stuff, but it's so hard to play against Bly. Like, he's so comfortable in these slightly lower drone situations and what have you, and that Widow Mine, that is the icing on the cake for Bly. Just guiding that at his opponent. These files, he doesn't even care if they land on his own lings. He's just dealing so much damage.
You seem like you're struggling there, Arctur. Let me help you out a little bit. Oh no? GG. Bly takes the